All right.
So now we are also live on YouTube. So I'm going to post the links
Amazing.
to our channels. So this is what I'm posting right now, just so you know.
Great. Yeah. I was just checking also the link on YouTube to see the live stream. Great. I see people coming.
Great. I think we'll start in just 1 minute.
Yeah, amazing.
Fantastic. Let's get started.
Good.
So, Padram, hi. Great to meet you today, of course. Turned out to be quite a historic day, apparently, for crypto market. So today might be the day that for the very first time, Bitcoin surpasses $100,000 value. So it's quite historic. Obviously, the whole market has been very euphoric, and just by coincidence. So we've been working on the materials leading to this webinar for quite some time. So, but obviously glad that coincided with this day, and excited to share with our audience, Lavita users, followers, Theta fans all over the world with what we have been working on. Just as a reminder, actually, Lavita will be present in person at the ThetaCon conference later this year in December in Las Vegas. And we'll have a lot more updates and demos and presentations there. But today, actually, we're going to talk about some very interesting work that we have done, specifically related to DeSci, some of the leading research that Lavita has published in medical AI research, and some of the work in front of us. Just as a quick note, also we have both the Zoom webinar right now, and then we have also the YouTube stream. So the Zoom webinar, I think participants would track the questions in the Q&A. You can post questions anonymously or with an ID, and we try to cover all of those during the presentation. The YouTube channel also has a chat feature, but I think we won't be able to cover all of those. So mostly for people that are watching without, if they don't have access to Zoom app. So with that, let's get started. Pedram, I know you also have some announcement that Lavita made earlier today about its work related to some very important upcoming AI conference. So would love to hear what has been the latest and continue the conversation for this webinar.
Absolutely, super excited. Hello, everyone. The first live webinar. So after the AMA session, very excited about this. And yeah, a bunch of like really exciting updates. I'm actually going to be, we're going to make it a little bit like more interactive, like a conversation. So for people who are attending, just feel free to chime in with questions. Obviously, we would love to take any questions, technical, non-technical. So for the stuff, obviously, I mean, for those of you who may not have seen it yet and already, we made some big announcements this morning about these very exciting research we've been working on for the past couple of months. And so today I'm just going to go and talk about some of the updates since the last session that we had. And I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to show
Perfect.
a couple of cool stuff. And let's actually do that now. Yeah. So the first thing actually I'm going to talk about is the medical evaluation sphere. For those of you, just as a reminder. So last session we talked about the new UI design and the new UI development for not only the medical evaluation sphere, but the Lavita Assist itself. So that's actually done. So I'm very excited about this new UI design, way more user friendly, and hopefully is a little bit like easier to interact with both the web version and also the mobile version. And we would love to get any feedback. So if you're using the Lavita Assist through mobile or through web browser, let us know. If you like the new UI design, if there's like anything that we can improve, anything you like and don't like about it. So we would love obviously to get feedbacks. But in general, I like the new design way better, and I think it's a little bit like easier to interact with. So medical evaluation is sphere included. So that's kind of like also, part of the new design that we had for this whole Lavita Assist platform. And I'm also going to be talking a little bit about medical evaluation sphere because it's related to the announcements we made this morning. Again, maybe like as like a little bit of a refresh, because we talked briefly about it last time. For those of you who joined that session, we showed some early results from the medical evaluation sphere votes. But maybe I thought it's good to kind of like, go through medical evaluation sphere, see one more example and to kind of like also encourage more users in the community to interact with this kind of like initiative that we started. Medical evaluation sphere, just like a really quick story, why we started medical evaluation sphere. When we launched Lavita Medical AI Assist, the idea was that obviously we want to build a tool that can give reliable and trustworthy and safe answers to users, to consumer health and medical questions. We curated some data sets. We did some fine tuning and instruction tuning on a set of large language models. And the goal and idea was to improve the quality of these models over time. But the question at the same time is that what exactly we want to improve? What is the measure? What is the evaluation criteria? So that actually kind of like, made us think also about, meanwhile and in parallel with all the work that we are doing to improve the quality of the models for medical question answering, to also have a really good tool to run some evaluations real time, to also have a good understanding of how these models are performing. And so that's why actually we started the medical evaluation sphere. And the idea is that I'm just going to show you a quick example. I'm sure that some of you have already worked with this because we are getting a lot of questions on this platform, which is amazing. But the idea is that you go to this evaluation sphere and you can ask any sort of question. For now, we're not filtering out, when you are asking questions, we're not filtering out non-medical questions, but we ask you to focus on medical questions. But when we're doing the analysis, we do filter out non-medical questions. So all the results that we report, those are all related to the medical questions asked on this platform, because we also have like some general purpose question. So you come here, a very simple question, like for example, what is cancer? And you start a conversation. It could be a single turn or multi-turn conversation. And then by default, we're going to be having two large language models in the background, generating a response in an anonymous mode for the question that you asked. That's actually why we name it the anonymous battle. By default, you don't know the identity of the models that are generating the responses. Then we have two different responses, model A, model B, and then you as a user can take a look at these two responses and have a holistic evaluation of the quality of the questions that you ask. And if you're satisfied with the response like over the others. So in this case, for example, I take a look, hey, what is cancer? And I see a brief explanation and description of the cancer. And then I have another one, which is a little bit longer. And again, take a look, and if you like model A better, you can just like say, hey, model A is better. And if the B is better, B is better. And sometimes really the quality is like the same. It's hard to tell which one is better. So you have the tie option, and sometimes both models are equally bad. So you can just like, simply select neither. So in this case, just for the sake of demo here, I said, hey, model A, like what is cancer? Just like, shorter answer, right to the point. I say A is better, and you can submit your vote. And then once you vote, basically in the background, we get all these votes and filter out non-medical questions and then report the results on overall performance of different models. And the other thing is that once you submit your vote, the identity of the models are going to be revealed to you. So in this case, for example, you see that, hey, model A was a chat Llama 2 13 billion parameter, and then model B in this case was a GPT-4o mini, and that is a specific version of GPT-4o. So, and you can, after that, reset the conversation and then start a new battle. And this time, I can also like choose this specific model. So for example, I can compare GPT-4o versus the Claude 3.5 from Anthropic. And then again, like ask the same question or a different question, like, hey, what is, for example, cancer? Again, a very simple question for the sake of demo, and then you have like two models generating the answer for you, and then you can have a holistic evaluation of the quality of the models, and then basically choose which one is better. And then when we're doing the analysis, we don't count the non-anonymous battles, because the whole idea is that we may get biased sometimes to a specific model. So this is just for the sake of like you playing with the medical evaluation sphere, and generally to get a sense of what models are doing better for your specific question. So a couple of things about medical evaluation sphere. Obviously, if you have like any questions, I'm just gonna pause after a couple of minutes and see if there's like any.
We have one question, Pedram, from the audience. So I think you kind of covered that. What are the language models that are used in the in this demo and this sphere? So you can consider multiple choices. Mostly, of course, these are mostly open source, but some closed source model as well. Yeah. Also asked the question about, do we use any prompt engineering or fine tuning specifically for Lavita? I think this is kind of related to with all the platform being able to collect good questions and then be able to evaluate, right?
Absolutely. Great questions. Actually, is also related to what I was gonna say next about the updates on medical evaluation sphere. Is starting with the models, you can see the full list of models that we have here. So we have basically an older Llama 2 version that we trained previously. So we put it there. This is like a Lavita model, basically trained or additionally fine-tuned on the Llama 2 base model. And then we have a mixed-draw model, and then we have two versions of GPT-4, GPT-4o and GPT-4o mini, which are like the newer version. And then we have like the Claude 3.5 from Anthropic. So the one thing actually we're working on right now is adding more inference endpoints. So we've been working on that to kind of like organize the endpoints that we have. We had to kind of like test out a couple of inference endpoints providers. And this is going to be the immediate next step. We're going to be adding a bunch of new models to diversify the pool of models you can choose from. And specifically, we're going to be adding the Llama 3.1 and 3.2 models. And we're just like doing, again, like some final testing to make sure the inference endpoints are reliable for the medical evaluation sphere. So the new Llama model family, there's going to be like there in the medical evaluation sphere. And then we're also going to be adding the Gemini models. I've already kind of like tested out the Gemini models. I think we're pretty much like good to go. And we're going to be using basically the public endpoints of the Gemini. And then Also, on top of that, we are planning, since this is like a medically kind of like focused evaluation sphere, we're also going to be adding some models that are not necessarily publicly available. So we're in negotiation with different providers to hopefully get access to those models. As one example, Google's MedLM, you can look it up. So which is available through the Vertex AI API, Vertex API on Google Cloud. That's actually one of the models that one of the basically good models that Google developed for medical tasks. So we're like also planning again, like we're in touch with Google to hopefully be able to add that inference endpoint. So yeah, so you can just basically, if you go again, if I can like refresh this page, and if you basically let me just vote and reset the conversation, this is going to be the default mode. So you see the anonymous battle. If you uncheck the anonymous battle, you're going to be seeing the list of models that you have access to. And these are basically the same models that are going to be used in the anonymous battle mode. And that you can just basically, use for evaluation and comparison. And what was the second one, Ellie? I forgot the second question.
We have a second question, but I think we can cover that a little bit later. It's about
Okay,
how we work with Theta Network to scale the platform. I think we're
absolutely.
going to cover that probably toward the end when we talk about the side aspect, of course, medical evaluation sphere. Perhaps, Pedram, what we can get to, also given the time, we can get to the announcement we made earlier today.
Absolutely.
Lavita AI going to NeurIPS for the AI enthusiasts in the audience. NeurIPS is the top research conference in the world, attended by the most well-known researchers, academics, as well as companies, industry practitioners, investors, all above. So we're very excited to actually have the publication there. We're going to be there in person, presenting, have essentially an oral presentation of Lavita's work. And with that, Pedram, please go ahead and talk about that.
Absolutely, Ali. Great point. Just one last point about medical evaluation sphere. We also have this leaderboard. This is something that we didn't talk about before, and we temporarily made it available so you can like check it out. And the idea, these numbers are not relevant and updated, so don't kind of like pay attention to the numbers specifically here. But the idea is that we're going to be having the leaderboard live, and we're going to be updating the leaderboard every couple of weeks based on the votes that we get. So there's going to be an actual online leaderboard that you can track. So, and obviously, we ask users of the community to kind of like contribute. And obviously, the more questions you ask on medical evaluation sphere, we're going to be having more data and more insight to kind of like to work with. So that's medical evaluation sphere. And now transitioning to the exciting update, as Ali mentioned, I'm personally very excited. So we've been working on this project for a couple of months. And I mean, we always like believed, good quality work, it could stem from also good quality research that wanted to, a lot of our developments to also back with solid research. And one of the actually in line with the initiative that we have, like the medical evaluation sphere and this bigger picture, the evaluation in the medical domain, we also had a kind of like a project going on, and we built a new medical question answering benchmark for long form question answering. Maybe just to give you a little background of the problems. If you have basically, again, going back to the model development, once you build an AI model, then you need to basically test the AI model before production. So to get a better idea of how the model is working and what are the strengths and weaknesses of the model. So that's actually where the benchmarks are handy. So you need to have really good quality benchmarks to have a good idea of how your models, and in this specific case, large language models are doing on a specific task and question answering in our case. So we've worked with an amazing group of doctors, and the one thing that we did, we got a lot of real world consumer or user questions from Lavita Assist, and we anonymized, not anonymous, but we manually checked all of these questions to ensure that there is no identifiable information. And then that was the pool of question. Then we had a set of large language models to generate responses for these questions. And then maybe I can also like go to give you an overview of the technical kind of like overview of the paper. So basically we started from, this is my announcement on Twitter. So for those of you who follow, just feel free to go, and I have like some more kind of like highlights about the paper. But the idea was that we got the user queries from Lavita Assist, did a bunch of pre-processing steps, including deduplication, removing some template questions that we had because we wanted the questions to be like real world questions. And then from the query pool that we had, did some manual quality checking because the quality was really important for us over quantity in this case. And did also some semantic deduplication, wanted to make sure the pool of questions are diverse and not semantically close to one another. And then we basically created different batches of questions, 4 batches in this specific case, a total of 400 questions. And then in each batch, we had 2 large language models generate 2 different responses to the same question. And then we had these medical doctors to judge the quality of the responses or to compare the quality of responses generated by the LLMs on these evaluation criteria. And I think that's actually one of the maybe like features of the data set. It is not a multiple choice question answering because one of the basic limitations that we saw in current and existing medical Q&A benchmarks is that a lot of them are focused on multiple choice questions or accuracy and some metrics that are not necessarily representative of the actual use of large language models in real world. And those are valuable, don't get me wrong. So there's still a lot of value in those existing benchmarks, but a long form question answering, basically a very kind of like natural way of using large language models and interacting with doctors in real world. So when you go to doctor, you ask a question, and then the response to that question is not going to be that, hey, doctor, you have like A, B, C, D, tell me which option is the answer to my question. You get a free form answer to your medical question. That's basically the idea. So we wanted to kind of like, sort of like cover the real world use of large language models when it comes to medical question answering. And then the result of that was this basic long medical question answering benchmark. I want to just show you some links. Obviously, the time is limited, so I'm not going to go through all the details. But we have this blog post that we explain in detail the vision, and we have like all the links available there. So feel free to take a look. And then we also have like the preprint of the paper on arXiv. So please feel free to go and read. All the technical details are there. And the paper is obviously live, and you can just like see all the details. And in the appendix, actually, we provided some extra kind of like information, all the specific prompts that we use for generating responses and evaluation. And we also have a GitHub repository. So all the codes and data, including notebooks and all the scripts that we use for the paper, they're all there. So everything is open, truly open. And the one thing actually I'm particularly proud of is that we also make the doctors' votes publicly available. And that's really important because we have a lot of medical benchmarks. We had, some medical doctors involved in the process, but some of them do not necessarily share these votes. So it's pretty hard to reproduce the results or build on top of it. MedPAM as one example. MedPAM is an amazing piece of work, but at the same time, not everything is open about it. So I think one of the features of our medical benchmark is that everything is open. So basically all labels, all annotations, all the codes, and so basically you can like reproduce the whole process from scratch. And also we have the dataset live on Hugging Face. So if you go to Hugging Face, we have one repository, medical Evaluationsphere, dedicated to all the benchmarks that we generate and create. And in this specific case, like the first data set that we're putting out there, medical Q&A benchmark, you can go and interact with the actual kind of like data set, see the data. And quickly about the format, you basically have a medical question, which is the actual question that coming from the Lavita assist, and without any sort of like identifiable information. And then you have the 2 models that were used to generate responses for that medical question. And then you have also the specific annotations that are coming from the doctors actually, and also like the LLMs. But I'm just going to pause here, Ali, before going to kind of like, to the details and reporting some insights. Also, I think it would be nice to talk maybe a little bit about the motivation behind this work and how we started and how obviously, we see it, including the partnerships we made and how, we're planning to scale things up.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pedram. So we have also some good questions from the audience that we'll cover I'll share a screen. Maybe it's a good time also to switch to DeSci kind of a landscape and talk a little bit about that and what we have related to that from Lavita side. Just a quick shout out to the audience. I saw some notes on the YouTube live stream link that we have audiences from all over the world, from Netherlands, from US, obviously. I know some audiences mentioned that they're going to be in Vegas in person. So we're really looking forward to meeting you and talking more with you. So really happy that you are joining this call, this webinar. Shout out if you want to mention where you are from. And this is, in our view, a global community. Healthcare is one of those areas that really unites people from all around the world. And we've seen that firsthand, of course, with the pandemic. And we're really excited to bring more of these exciting research and products that we'll talk about to you for everyday use. So this is interesting, Pedro, that you brought up. So we talked a little bit before in the last AMA about kind of the DeSci and the decentralized science ecosystem. I think this piece of research and what we have ahead of us really puts limelight on what we've been working on. So as an example, this research was a true example of how a decentralized research should get done. So when you think about all these different aspects, and I'm borrowing this market map essentially from Masari, very well-known crypto research institute. So when you think about all these different elements, from funding to data collection, to the infrastructure for conducting research, to the communities that you have, and eventually for review and publishing. All of these actually have a lot of aspects to which Lavita contributed by being the virtue of having the virtue a blockchain focus first, or a blockchain first focus. So this research obviously was funded through Lavita token. So we actually thinking of working with all the contributors, from medical doctors, from obviously doing the infrastructure work that was needed, the cloud providers, all of those funding obviously provided by Lavita tokens, which is a very strong um, uh, currency for doing research, as opposed to a bottleneck. In the current academic ecosystem, when a principal investigator, a professor, or a researcher in an institute wants to get funding, they have to submit grants, all of that, and wait for a long time, with some chance, usually pretty low, that their funding gets approved. Now, what we have with Lavita is that people can actually propose what we lay out in the future, funding for the projects that they're excited about and they want to see happens in the real world. When it comes to the data collection, this is very interesting. This is where we had actually our strong partnerships. Because of a unique platform, what we have in Lavita Assist, where we have access to thousands of users that are submitting their questions, medical questions, and these are real world use cases. Actually, the partners that work with us on this research, particularly Dartmouth Medical School, which is one of the top AI and medical research institutions in the country, reached out to us and they wanted to work with us specifically because of this. When you think about it, the breadth and the depth of the audience for a platform like Lavita Assist and beyond that medical Evaluationsphere really is global scale. And because of that, that data collection capability, a lot of researchers, a lot of institutes wants to work with Lavita. And we have more and more of those in the futures that we will work with. And of course, we invite many of them that are listening to this presentation or later hear about it to reach out to us for opportunities down the road. Talking about the medical evaluation sphere, that's really the infrastructure that allows us to conduct this research. So being able to have a very intuitive and user-friendly interface in which the medical doctors, annotators, even the lay users be able to contribute and actually contribute to the annotation and fine-tuning of the data, that is significant. And that's done only by having a decentralized project like Lavita. And ultimately, the ecosystem and the community that Lavita brings together is going to be more important than other aspect of research, which is usually done in a very much centralized, again, institutions, limited to the academic institutions and research institutions, and limited by their funding. So we are excited to expand on this work. I mean, what we have right now is really just a drop of what's ahead of us. We're going to have more research that's funded, that's collected, from the data collection perspective and from the execution of the research on Lavita platform, allowing globally researchers to audience participate in this type of activities, and hopefully bring the fruit and benefit of that also to the global audience. We had a couple of questions, Padram. Actually, these are interesting from the audience. So one was also related to how actually we use a Theta ecosystem to strengthen Lavita DeSci platform. I think one of the aspects obviously is the community that Theta, the very strong community that exists globally, and are supporters of Theta and its mission for bringing AI for everyday use. And Lavita is a big part of that. I think the other aspect of it, and Pedro, we can talk about this a little bit, is is how we're planning to use Theta decentralized infrastructure. So the DeepIn network that Theta has all over the world allows us actually to implement instances of medical Evaluationsphere, instances of Lavita Assist everywhere in the world, and then actually where the place that it is the lowest cost and with the highest service level. So that's very exciting for us. Other aspects of it, Pedram, that you come across that you've seen that Theta and Lavita have very strong essentially collaboration and partnership that enables growth of this platform.
Yeah, definitely like a lot of exciting stuff. And I'm also like going through the questions. I see like we have like some questions on the YouTube, and also trying to make sure that we cover everything. And yeah, just gonna
Very
make,
good point. So
yeah,
so we have let's see on the YouTube questions. Yeah, thank you from dialing from New York.
we have people
Um,
from New York. Amazing.
okay, some questions. Okay, this is actually a question, couple of questions that came up. So what is the latest update about MyChart, Epic, RAG pipeline? So these are, I would say, questions more related to personalized healthcare, personalized AI assist, that type of. So our response is to stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of updates for you during the ThetaCon conference. We're going to have fantastic demos of what's the latest products that we're going to release very soon, and you'll see the latest there. So stay tuned for answer for those questions.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is that the field is changing, like moving really fast. Like speaking about RAG, we actually have an internal project. We're testing out some RAG pipelines, specifically for medical question answering. Obviously, the one thing we want to add to this whole Lavita Assist is generating answers with references. So basically, you have like the answer and also supporting documents. So we have like some testing and development going on. But again, like the field is moving pretty fast, and RAG could be good, and in some cases it may not necessarily be the best option. Or it's important to find a balance between like using RAG or kind of like some other approaches. But as Addy said, stay tuned. Obviously some exciting stuff. And one thing I want to mention about the medical evaluation sphere is also, on top of like adding new inference endpoints, is the multimodality aspect of this platform. We're also testing out some multimodal models, so that not only you can put a text, a medical question answering in text, but also you can drop medical questions with an image, so that so that's like another thing in the pipeline. And after adding the new inference endpoints, definitely interested to expand both like the Lavita AI Assist and also the Evaluationsphere to the multimodal models. Yeah.
Fantastic. I know we're just about time. We had a couple of questions also about exchanges and listing. I know we mentioned in the beginning, this is a kind of a historical day for the whole crypto community, given the BTC all-time high, close to 100,000.
Yeah.
So I actually believe that 2025 is going to be a very, very important year, not just for Lavita, for the whole Theta community, obviously for the whole market. But our promise is that as we have users and uh, partners and ecosystem players that are engaging with Lavita, and we have a lot of interesting stuff to show during the ThetaCon conference, we'll definitely promise to have Lavita listed, of course, on tier one exchanges for users to be able to benefit from those Lavita tokens. There's definitely a strong plan, which we'll talk about more in detail in ThetaCon, that shows how Lavita, the whole tokenomics, is going to enable all these platforms, products, and DeSci platform that we have. And that's going to be a fantastic conversation, an exciting 2025 ahead for all of us. Let's see if there is any final question.
I'm checking
Well,
the YouTube live, so I think we pretty much covered everything. But obviously, if there's like any more questions, feel free to reach out. Would love to hear any sort of feedback on Lavita Assist, the new benchmark that we put out, and yeah, and hopefully we can interact more live with the community.
fantastic, fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us. Perhaps a few questions we didn't get to cover, given our time is up, but we'll try to cover all of those during ThetaCon. Looking forward to either interacting with you in person or just again through the live platforms during the conference, and then keep you updated about all the stuff that Davita is working on.
Yeah,
This has
maybe
been
like
fantastic. Go
one
ahead.
last question, Alex, before we wrap up. I mean, maybe we don't know. Like people are asking that will ThetaCon be streamed or recorded, and we gotta probably like ask the ThetaCon organizers to see like what's gonna be
Oh,
the.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's both. It's both streamed and recorded. Yeah,
Okay. So answer to Peter. Thanks for the question. Thank you, Sebastian, and everyone for joining.
fantastic. Thank you, Pedram.
Awesome. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, everyone.
See you, everyone.